Hello and welcome to DDOCast episode 407, recorded live on Saturday, November 21st. I'm your host, Patrick. With me this week, we have from the Damsels of DDO, Sahba, Jade.
Good morning.
Morning. Up way before her get-up time.
Oh, absolutely.
Did you have a red eye last night?
No, but Myth and I were playing. Well, actually, just Myth and I. We got into a nice group doing Thunderhold Slayer, so we were up for a while.
Oh, nice. You can get pretty far with that.
Yep, we're trying to get to 28.
Indeed, aren't we all? We also have returning this week, Axel.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, it's a good week for you. Lots
Yeah,
of fun
definitely.
stuff to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
This week's screenshot, we'll get the easy stuff out of the way. Tasha Raventhorn finds the secure forge of the 12 to be less than secure in the 247th screenshot of the week. Thanks, Clubberlang, for sending in this week's screenshot. It's a nice little screenshot, featuring an area of one of the newer quests. I'm trying to remember which one that is. Is that Subversion? I think that's Subversion. I haven't run the new ones all that much.
Yeah, I think that's Multitude of Menace.
Is that what it is?
Nope,
That's
sorry,
the
I'm
house
on
one.
I'm on the release notes yet. Sorry, I'm doing the wrong one. Hang on. Where's my picture? Is
Looks
Don't
kind of like
know.
the forge from Lord of Blades, but it's not the right area for that either. It's the end.
It's
It's
the
with the
house.
green slot, right?
Yeah, I think that's, kind of
Anyways,
looks like Multitude of Menace. The thing in the middle looks like something from House C.
I haven't run the newer quests into the ground to the point that I can pick that out quite yet. So we like to talk about Dungeons & Dragons online nearly every weekend. You can watch us through Twitch, YouTube, the DDO forums, or from our website at DDOcast.com. DDOcast is hosted by CyberEars, the awesome podcast hosting network. Shows are usually available within a few days of recording, and the next show will probably be next Saturday. Yes, it is Thanksgiving weekend. We will have a show that week. At least that's the plan if I can get one together. You can stay updated by following us on social media pages, particularly at DDOcast on Twitter, or our website at DDOcast.com. On the podcast this week, we've got a lot to talk about. We got a lot of news about Update 29, Level 30, and Lamania went up for a little bit. And we're also going to do our review of Update 28. I like to do review shows for all the updates when we can. And so we're going to start on that one. And I think maybe, well, let's see. Let's start with the quests. There were 4 new quests. As we've already alluded to, we can't quite pick out one image from them, but we've run them. So we're not completely inept at this. So the new quests were Tavern Brawl, Grim and Barrett, Subversion, and Multitude of Menace. So what did you guys think about the quests? How did you like them? Were there kind of some particularly moments that stood out in them?
I like them. I like that they're continuing the storyline, and it's going to continue on into Update 29 as well. Some were kind of short. I didn't like that part of it. There are kind of puzzles in a couple of them, which is nice to see puzzles and things, but a little more difficult puzzles would be nice. I like the gear out of it, though. If you're not all geared out with raid gear, this is some really nice stuff. And I have been running several of them to get stuff.
We will talk about loot as a separate piece, just so you know. Alex, what do you think?
Well, I think what really stood out to me was the artwork. I thought this pack looked really, really good. Just from a cosmetic standpoint, there's a lot of... Also, the storyline was good, too. I liked all the Harry references. I think almost every quest, if not every one, he popped up at the beginning and gave you a little storyline spiel. I guess as far as things I didn't like, I didn't like the fact that the quests were so short and, to me, a little simple. Not a lot of stuff to really learn or figure out or explore. They're kind of closed in. So I would like to see a little more creativity in the layout of the dungeon, but when it comes to the storyline and artwork, I thought they looked really good. So overall, I feel kind of mixed about the pack as a whole.
Yeah, I think you touched on some interesting points. 'Cause one of the things I noticed pretty early on when running it was there seemed to be a lot of thin, skinny hallways,
Yeah,
which I
yeah, I
probably
felt a little
noticed more than anything else
claustrophobic.
because I was at the time I was running a wizard life on my bard, so I was kind of on a character that liked to have a lot more open space, and I kept running into walls, and
Yeah,
which meant I kept running into something smacking me in the face, which kind of led to a lot of death because it
yeah,
was on a fairly squishy wizard that's not really meant to be a wizard, and we were on Epic Elite, so it was a little bit of that. Um, I did like I thought the variety was okay. I didn't mind the shortness of the dungeons. The length of a dungeon never really has a major impact on me and how much I like it. It might impact what I'm going to run, but I've never found it to be a very big barrier for me. I was fairly impressed with the use of the of current assets. We'll put it because these go into a lot of areas that we already have dungeons for, but or at least areas that like exist. At least in terms of the art, like they didn't have to create uh, a new environment, as it were. But it didn't feel like they didn't feel stale either, if that makes sense. Uh, and I did think
yeah. It was neat getting to revisit some of these places, especially the portable hole. That was pretty cool. The first time I stepped in, very nostalgic. We don't get to never gotten to fight in there before, so that was pretty neat.
Some players have never been there before
it's
because they
true.
don't have casters.
It's the portable hole is kind of this funny little tavern in the game that I have to figure, and maybe Cordovan can chime in the comments or something, but I have to kind of figure that this is one of those places where some dev had like some extra time and said, this would be kind of cool. What if we did this? And added it into the game, kind of on a whim. But it's kind of one of uh, those fun little hidden things about the game. I mean, I guess if you're a wizard, you'd probably need to know more about it since I think it's like the only place you can actually buy a lot of scrolls, arcane
Right.
scrolls. Uh, but it's just kind of this funny little place that you can't just accidentally stumble upon. You have to be able to cast teleport to get there. Uh, but I thought it was kind of funny because in one of our debate episodes a while back, Chai mentioned we were talking about pitching a raid, and one of the things Chai said was like having an invasion of Stormreach again, basically, and like the different locations, which basically this update was,
Right.
which I thought was kind of amusing. 'Cause we're in what was it, House Cannith, and
The
also the
12,
12 and the Portable Hole
the harbor.
and the Harbor. So it was kind of a fun little throwback to that episode. I thought was kind of amusing. I'm sure when the devs were listening to that episode, they kind of had a little smile on their face for that one.
So in each of the quests, Harry is trying to get his lieutenants or whatever to find a certain item, but we're not sure what when he does find all the items, what they're going to do when they get put together, right?
It's kind of actually a little bit of a flip on the classic quest trope, right? Like we're trying to prevent someone from getting the item instead of trying to go
Right.
get the item, which is kind of
Right.
amusing. I did like the variety of the kind of the lieutenants, the boss fights. I felt like those were kind of fun and appropriate. Um, yeah,
I like the slot in fight. I mean, the slot. I thought the slots look really good.
yeah, slots
Um,
are always fun.
that was interesting. I
Uh,
always like new enemies. Instead of just
yeah,
throwing the same old ones in there.
particularly, do you feel like they captured the feel of a slot well?
And I do. I mean, they look good. The voice acting was good. I was a little afraid when I saw the picture for the first time that they would just like reskin a Hezru or something, but they actually didn't do that. They did a really good job going the whole 9 yards, and they really it looked like they made new animations and everything. So felt good to me. Looked good.
Yeah, I don't think I've never actually fought a slot before in any version of D&D. Just not we didn't. I never fought him in pen and paper or at any version, and this is actually the first time I've actually encountered a slod other than reading it in the book. That's kind of an interesting little note for me. Yeah, so let's talk about the loot. How did you guys feel about the loot that we got with this update?
I think it's good for newer. I guess for not. I don't want to say newer players, but players who aren't. You don't have characters who are completely like all looted to the like geared to the max. And my characters tend. Well, my main character tends. He gets geared pretty well. So there's not a lot of stuff that I particularly was interested in. And I think some of that was also that the loot didn't really fit my build. The builds I like to run too well. But there's a lot of stuff that people wanted. I know the quiver. People seem to be going crazy over that. A lot of people I meet in game are going after that quiver for the range power, and I think it has double shot on it.
8%, yeah.
Yeah, and I
That
felt kind
quiver
of bad.
might be the pound for pound best non-raid quiver you can find.
Yeah, I felt
at
kind of
Apples.
bad because I don't run a range build, and I actually pulled the quiver first run ever on live, so I felt bad
Did you keep
because
it?
there's a lot. Yeah, I did because I was soloing,
Yeah.
but I would have passed. I would have passed it if there was a ranger or something in the group.
Well, my characters aren't geared out to the max. Not very much raid gear. So one of them is already wearing 5 of the items to get the.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So she has the +3 quality bonus to all stats by wearing 5 of these items. I also have the Epic Dice and Epic Slice for my assassin, which I'm kind of excited about. She doesn't have I don't have Thunderforged tier 3 on any of my characters, so I think when she hits 28, I'm going to be really excited to use those. So I do think this is placeholder gear for someone who doesn't have raid gear, and it's pretty nice stuff.
I think it fills the void fairly nicely. If you haven't been running a lot of, particularly like Thunderholm, if you haven't been running some of that content a lot, and gotten some of those better items, I think my kind of chief complaint with the loot comes down to the set bonuses, and I've just found they don't do a lot of set bonuses, and I don't necessarily have a problem with them doing set bonuses, but I found for me set bonuses when it comes to loot are too limiting because it's too constricting if I want that bonus, and usually what I find with the set bonuses is particularly a bigger set bonus, you end up having to take a lot of items that you probably wouldn't choose otherwise except to get that set bonus. So you end up with, like, as an example, if I had 5 items to get that +3 quality bonus, I would typically find that probably 3 of those items are quite subpar for that character to have just to get that set bonus. And I find it doesn't tend to work very well for me personally. Having said that, I don't have an issue with the concept of set bonuses. I just find that, and this is partly because of the fairly wide variety of gear I do have from various updates in the past, and having been playing for long enough that I have a lot of those items from older content packs. The set stuff tends to not, like, the set bonus is really nice, but then I end up losing too much to get it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the sets in this quest pack, you have to have 5 pieces of gear for some of them. From the
For
set
for the
bonuses?
major ones,
Yeah,
others you only have to have 2, which is less limiting.
yeah,
But now, if you don't have a lot of gear if that's what you're wearing anyways, the set bonuses are great. It's a fantastic little bonus. So if you are looking for stuff to fill that void and you can get those, it's great. But I tend to a lot of the items that were set bonusy weren't really that intriguing for me, or I didn't really see an initial glance didn't really show me how they're going to fit or replace a lot of my current gear, if that makes sense. That's not to say that I'm not wearing any. I have the trinket on my artificer, and it's a great fit for him. So there's definitely some places where it fits. It's just the set bonuses. To get the set bonus, it usually ends up that something in that set that it's giving me that bonus means I'm losing something else. Then I have to end up weighing that a little more, which is not bad. Choices are good. we like choices. It makes it more interesting for building and gearing. So, but I thought overall the loot was good. Um, I think I'm trying to remember if that crossbow that I have is from that pack or from the pack before.
I
Yeah, I
think I
think.
like the
Go ahead.
crossbow from the pack before better than this one. I have a mechanic and she's a heavy crossbow. No, a great crossbow user instead of repeating heavy. And this one is the repeating heavy crossbow.
Yeah, I think the loot is good for what it is. I don't want every update to be a straight, power jump. Um, I think for what it does, it gives gear for maybe players who don't run the raids, who don't spend as much time, I guess, who hasn't spent as much time in game, to get some good stuff fast. The quests are short, pretty easy stuff to farm out if you want it. So I think it serves a good role there.
Yeah. This is the crossbow, this is Epic Fatal Flaw. This is the one that I liked. So there is definitely good items, and I think there was some great. It has some really good filling the gap kind of stuff. The items individually are quality items. Have some good stuff going for them. They're not the set bonus is kind of a meh for me. I think is I guess where it kind of comes down to. I will say though that I really there's some fun items in here. I particularly like the Epic Return to Sender, which is an envelope. Throwing dagger skin is an envelope, which I thought was kind of fun. Um, and I don't really know how to. There's an item in here that I feel like it's a fun item just from the standpoint of trying to figure out how to make a build around it, and that was the locked and loaded, the hand
The hand
wraps.
wraps, yeah.
Yeah, which are hand wraps, but they've got a fire and kinetic and sonic lore on them, uh, which is kind of a wonky. Um, like it's an item you look at and I can't help but think, who's going to use this? Who is this made for? And how are you going to build around it? So
I don't know, maybe a cleric monk caster
yeah, maybe
likes to punch a little bit. Got
there's
kinetic lore for blade barrier, fire for some of the fire spells.
yeah, it's just a really interesting item when you look at it. It's like, huh, what could I do with that? I guess is where my reaction came from. But yeah, so it's good loot. I think yeah, it fills that power level nicely. It's not they're not too much higher. And this is for me. It's mostly from an epic perspective. I think at the more heroic level, it's actually the gear is better. It's much better in terms of relative power to what's around it, compared to the higher levels. Compared to the epic relative level of power is. I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on the epic versus heroic while we're talking about loot?
Not
I,
really. I
not
honestly
really.
I haven't run the heroic much.
Yeah, that's fair. Um, I would say like the weapons in particular seem to really pop a little bit more down at that epic level. So let's see. Let's talk about the Ranger enhancement pass. So all three of the Ranger enhancements got a tweak. I will say right off the bat that I really like what they did with Deepwood Sniper. I feel like that became probably the best of the three trees from what I would have considered the worst, or at least the least useful for me. I do have I have a fighter who has 6 levels of Ranger, so and kind of plays with the Tempest tree a little bit. And then I have my Pure Ranger as an archer, who had been heavily invested in Arcane Archer before the pass, and then after the pass, switched over to primarily the Deepwood Sniper. But he really came out ahead. He's got doing a lot more damage. I like what's in Deepwood Sniper and the stuff that it adds to him. Yeah, I'm really happy with it. What do you guys think?
I like it. I have a rogue ranger who's a thrower, and she's up into tier 5 of the Wood Stalker. Because how can you beat 20% double shot? So when I have, I use a bow too. So when I have, what's it called? Multi-shot,
Many
many
shot.
shot going. Yeah, I'm up to 200% double shot, which means I get at least 3 arrows every time, which is really nice. She's putting out a lot of damage.
I wish I had something to add, but I haven't gotten a chance to revisit my. I have a Bard Ranger, but I haven't gotten a chance to revisit him since the pass. So I haven't taken. I don't play Rangers all that much.
I do like they did a really good job with Deepwood of making it versatile and to kind of go either way, range or melee. If you have a hybrid character, it can be really, really strong. Actually, that fighter I mentioned actually felt like he wanted about another 20 action points just to play around with because some of the stuff in there is so good compared to a lot of the other stuff. I'm not really playing him a lot, or I probably would have thought about it more. But I actually considered going all the way up to tier 5 in Deepwood Sniper, even though he's primarily a fighter, just because of how good that tree is compared to Kensai right now. But he's not really a front burner project right now, and I'm kind of waiting for the fighter pass a little bit. We'll see. I might revisit that later. See, some of the other stuff that came with Update 28, and this is kind of in release. So we're talking about not just Update 28, but the patch and the hotfixes with that. So this is kind of in order of release note, because I know everyone wants to talk about the balance pass again. There was a change to monster auto scaling for level 30 quests, which was removed, and monster stats for level 30 quests were then manually adjusted. It applied to any quest on challenge rating 30, which would include level 28 quests on Elite. Have you guys noticed this? Do you feel it's impacted gameplay very much, one way or the other?
I haven't noticed it.
I've noticed the high level quests on Epic Elite, they felt tougher. I don't know if it's just me, but
I would say Orchard definitely felt tougher.
Yeah.
Although they have said that they want to take another look at that.
Yeah, it seems like the damage is definitely up, which is I'm not complaining at all. That's fine with me.
It probably didn't help me any that the last time I ran it, I was in pajamas on my monk.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
the monks haven't had a lot of love recently compared to some other classes, and I mean on the upside, the armor changes didn't really impact him very much, but he's still kind of lacking in the PR department. And dodge only gets you so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that they've mentioned some stuff, particularly with Orchard and Temple of Elemental Evil. I didn't feel that the newer quests, like Update 28 and Update 27, I didn't feel like those quests were out of whack too much. Although I will say that the Abishai can throw around a lot of area effect damage, and if you're not ready for that, that can hurt too. Let's see. Let's talk about this probably briefly. Let's talk about the monster manual. So we got a new monster manual 6. I'll just run through what was in there. Iron Defender, Dragon, Mudman, Tiefling, Hellhound, Bearded Devil, Fleshfender, Quarry, Yugoloth, and Shadow. Did you guys have any thoughts on the new monster manual?
No, except keep them coming because I like monster manuals.
Yeah, it's neat. It gives you a little something extra to do. Yeah, definitely keep it coming. The more the better.
It was a good mix of monsters too, because a lot of these are. I felt like this filled in a lot of the higher level stuff because these are all, or mostly stuff that you run into at those higher levels, particularly with the devils and dragons and shadows are everywhere, tieflings. So
Tiefling.
Good ones. No elf, but hopefully that's coming soon.
I just want to remind people to check their monster manuals though, because one of my guildies did it right after this came out, and he had over 2,000. What are those things we're collecting? Mysterious remnants.
Yeah, the newer ones have
manual.
those.
Yep.
Which is great. It's a nice way to earn some of those on the go. So another note, I have to throw this in there. Probably won't talk about it very much, but the mouse wheel bug got fixed, which never really bothered me that much because I always play zoomed out as far as I can go, except for rare occasions.
Yeah, I do too. I never ran into this bug personally.
Me neither.
I know it was driving Jeff up the wall.
Absolutely bonkers, yeah.
it, you had to wonder if Jeff was feeling okay if he didn't have a fix the mouse wheel bug post every month. It's kind of a thing for him. Uh, but it was, it's a long-standing bug, and I think from the standpoint of what it kind of represents too, not just the fact that they fixed the mouse wheel bug, but they're still going back and fixing some of these things and listening to players and trying to get that fix. So if there's something that really bugs you, take the Jeff approach and keep mentioning it, and sooner or later they fix it. So let's talk about Night Revels, which came. We talked about this a little bit last week, Alex and I. Maybe Sahba, if you want to start. What did you think about Night Revels? Yeah, let's start there.
Okay. Well, I was never a fan of Mabar. I didn't like the Dragon Raid. It just was horrible for me because I didn't like the coordination of it was just horrible. So I liked the quests, and I liked going into the revamping of the quests, and they were kind of fun. I still don't like hanging out in the graveyard trying to get keys. That's not fun for me. But I like it a whole lot better than I did Mabar. And I got some nice stuff. I got my +2 spooky wisdom augment and some things that are going to disappear at the end of the year, but that's okay. I'll use them until then. Overall, I thought it was a success for me.
Yeah, I like to kind of what Alex and I were talking about in terms of the graveyard last week. One of the things we kind of brought up was if it was more of an explorer, even if they just changed it into an explorer area with rares that you could maybe get a better chance of getting keys if you found rares and stuff like that.
I would like to turn chocolates in for keys.
Yeah, that could be an option. I actually found because I ran it because they're doing we'll talk about it later, but they're doing an encore this weekend. So I did a tour with a character that I'm running on just mostly for XP, and it kind of struck me actually in that after having done that, it would have been nice if you could turn the ingredients you get from the quests back in for chocolate.
Yeah.
In order to, I don't know, I just felt like that would have helped me utilize some of the stuff I had left over better than because otherwise I'm not really sure I can. Everything that you need, you can turn in like the apples and caramels and stuff for. You need chocolate too, but the chocolate's where I don't really have much left over.
Well,
So.
you could trade in, and actually, I commented on the video because I made a mistake. I said it was you could turn in for keys, but you actually can turn in 5 of each ingredient plus some chocolates for a Drought of Midnight, and that really increases your chocolate drop rate by a lot. So
Yeah, but I'm done. Like I'm
so
done.
it's kind of a way to get what you're asking for there.
True, but like I'm at a point where I'm done with the event, right? Like I don't really want to run it anymore. I've gotten what I wanted out of it. And there's
Gotcha.
a lot of stuff that's in there that you can get with just chocolates. So what I would like to be able to do is, I'm done, particularly since the ingredients go away, and a lot of this stuff is like consumable stuff, so it's not unreasonable. I don't feel it's unreasonable for me to take because now I have 23 of all those ingredients that I didn't have plans for because I wasn't expecting it to come back, but I wanted the XP. So I got some keys and ran it really quick. But now I've got, probably a little over 30 of each of these ingredients that I don't really have plans for. I don't have enough chocolates to do anything with them either. But, if I could turn them all in for chocolates and then get some, even if it's like 2 or 3 chocolates a piece, then I could get a couple Death Ward potions or maybe some skull grenades or something. I don't know. I feel like I don't have anything to do with them now.
I see what you're saying.
And because they're going away,
yeah.
I kind of wish I had something to do with them. And I don't want to go farm more chocolates just to do with those. So I don't want to buy chocolates either. So I'm not compelled enough to do anything to utilize them, but I would like to be able to utilize them without having to go and do stuff to utilize them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it would be nice if there's some kind of option in the trader to convert any ingredient to any other one. I mean, we could have a very unfavorable ratio of what you trade for what you get. Just something to where you could get all your ingredients down to zero since they're
I
going
don't know that
away.
you need. I don't feel like an apple should be able to turn into a cinnamon or something like that. I don't feel that's necessary because the quests are so short. I don't feel like there's a big barrier there. It's more I don't have anything to spend these apples on now, and I don't have any chocolates. Like I'm out of chocolates to do anything with them. So yeah, that's kind of where it broke down for me. But
Yeah,
I mean, this is
I
a
see what you're
minor
saying.
thing.
It is. It's very minor. I mean, if there's some kind of way to trade the ingredients, it would take away the need to, I guess, have some notes written down or a spreadsheet or something to keep track of exactly how many runs of each or each
But I
challenge
do
you
that
need to get
anyways.
what you want. That's what I ended up doing. I had to do a little math and
I
figure out
anytime I
exactly.
ended up ruining like the challenge and stuff, I always end up doing that anyways. So
Yeah. So it would take
I'm
away the
kind
need
of
to do
ridiculous that way.
to do that. But yeah, very minor. Very
I
minor.
have a very large Excel file
Yeah.
for DDO. It's kind of embarrassing. But yeah, I think the Night Revels was great. It felt very appropriate for the holiday. Um, I actually liked the Spectral Dragon in terms of like if it worked. I One of the things I enjoy about raiding is getting that coordination going, and it's always kind of satisfying when you do a really good, well coordinated run. Uh, Having said that, I think I kind of like the quests a little better. The access to them wasn't as probably like I could go when I wanted to, not what's the count.
Right?
Oh, it's open, it's open. I didn't have to worry about that, which gives a lot more freedom to doing other things at the same time as the event. Uh, so, yeah, I think it was a definite improvement over Maybar. Even if you take the factor of lag of Maybar out of the equation, I felt like it was still an improvement. Other things I think would be great to improve between the show what we talked about this week and last week, but uh, a really good start for a first pass of an event.
For sure. I agree.
And even if none of those things changed, I would still say it's a great event. So
And I'm glad they brought it back this weekend because on my permadeath character, I had 200 and some chocolates left over that I needed to do something with, and I got some potions or something.
yeah, nice. Let's see. I'm gonna skip the balance pass. We'll talk about that at the end. Let's talk about the new fighter feats. Have you guys played with any of the new fighter feats? Have any thoughts on those?
Yeah. I have a level 20 pure Vanguard fighter, and I definitely took advantage of the free Fred time to swap in a lot of those feats.
How many did you take?
Oh, several of them. I think what is it? I think some of them were PRR. I think I
There's
took.
one. There's two lines of four. One does don't bonuses to DCs for your tactical feats, and one is heavy armor PRR and I think MRR. But I'm not
Yeah,
positive on that.
I took I think the highest two tiers of the PRR and MRR.
Okay.
That's about it. He's not really a tactics fighter, so
Mine
and
is I took the highest tactical one I could take because I don't think he qualified for the top one, and I took that instead of something else.
oh,
Instead
well,
of, I
part of
think it
my
was weapon
problem
specialization feat.
is my that character. He's actually the first character I ever had. He's still 28-point build, and I
Oh,
don't really. Yeah, he's just kind of my mess around character. I don't really. I'm not gearing him all out for DCs or anything, so I just don't bother to even try.
you can actually get a surprisingly good effectiveness out of a fighter that without going too crazy with trying to get the DCs. Um, Especially if you start utilizing improved sunder. Improved sunder then a stun is a really effective combination, particularly if you're two up and fighting, because you can get like 1 to 3 shots of improved sunder off, and then each one of those that even if it doesn't actually get the quote sunder effect, it still gives -2 per one of those to their fortitude saves up to a stack of 5, so you get -10, and then you can land those stuns. The other nice thing if you're two up and fighting tactics feat is every time you use like a stun or a trip, you get your primary attack, and then there's the percent chance for the double strike, and then the percent chance for the offhand strike, and
Yeah.
each one of those will apply that effect. So you can get a surprising amount of effectiveness out of those.
Neat. I'll have to play around with it.
And then if
Yeah,
you
he's a character that he's been sitting up there in epics for a while, and I haven't gotten a chance to. Well, I haven't wanted to buy a heart for him because he's not really a serious character, and it really wasn't until this, the free Fred time that I got the chance to switch out his feats and try out Vanguard because I haven't tried out Vanguard up until recently. I've never ran a character like that, so
Vanguard has some good
still
DC
still
stuff
very
in it
much
too.
a Vanguard noob.
The other thing with it, if you're looking at like improving your tactics feats usage, know what you're using it against, right? Stuns and trips are kind of affecting two different defenses, so some will be more effective than others.
Right.
It's
right.
really hard to trip a spider, for example.
Yeah. Yep. Stun the mods with low fort saves and trip the ones with low reflex saves.
Yep.
Yep.
Sahba, do you have any fighters?
My completionist is a fighter, but she's working on a warlock life, so I haven't tried this stuff out yet.
Yeah.
It's going to be a while before she gets back to being a fighter.
The last thing to talk about before we get to the balance pass, they changed line of sight checks for area of effect spells. And I would say I think I've noticed a little bit of change. It's kind of hard to really tell, but I think the place where it shows up more noticeably is like the raids, like the File of the Just. It seems to me like there's less of an issue having people start casting some of those area effect spells. I don't know, have you guys felt any kind of differences with these?
No.
I haven't, no, but I haven't been playing my casters too much lately.
That's fair. All right, so let's talk about the balance stuff, because there was the big balance changes. Let's just say, start big picture. How do you feel about the balance changes? Thumbs up, thumbs down, kind of in the middle?
I think a lot of them were needed just because a lot of the really strong abilities were kind of holding other builds back from being viable. I think a lot of players felt, why run this build when I can just run this one? I think a lot of the abilities invalidated other builds. So I think actually a lot of the changes open up a lot more builds. And I think of the builds that got nerfed, I think for the most part they went from being amazing to excellent, not really amazing to unplayable. I don't think really any of the very few builds need to be completely changed as a result of the balance pass. I think the devs did a good job of not destroying a lot of builds.
Yeah, I have to agree. I run with a paladin a lot, and I don't think she's affected at all by the changes to Holy Sword well, she's not affected by the other one because she's a full paladin. And then for the warlock, the power scaling that was changed, I haven't seen that with the guy I run around with that's a warlock. I mean, he's still out there out killing everybody. I like the changes to many shot and 10,000 stars. I didn't have many shot on my thrower before, and now I do, and I like it. It makes her a little more viable, even though I thought she was fun before. I think she's a little more fun now. I think the improved crit changes were long overdue, although they did kind of tweak some of them so they didn't get as much of a nerf as they were going to get. So I think they're pretty good changes.
Yeah, I think a lot of the changes actually were, I think, not that big of a deal, or were things that I would have expected. Like the improved crit bug was holding a lot of stuff back anyways, and it kind of just needed to be tweaked. The whole thing with warlocks and the spell power scaling, I mean, the class has been out for what, 5 months maybe. I mean, that I kind of felt was in the realm of I expect this to be tweaked a few times between like over the course of the first year of play. Like I wasn't surprised by that at all. Holy Sword they'd been talking about changing, and they almost hardly did. I mean, they barely even changed it in the end.
Right.
So it was a much less thing. the two weapon fighting power. I saw a lot of people kind of up in arms about that, but again, that was a balancing mechanic that when they introduced melee and power to the different feat lines, like it was said that that was a balancing mechanism that they were going to use, and that the numbers would probably change over the course of time, which they have. I wasn't really overly surprised by that.
Are you talking about the 6 melee power and the 2 weapon
Yeah,
fighting feats? Yeah, they also said they made changes to the animation that make up for that, so it got a little
which
faster.
I didn't really notice that, but I think it's something that's really hard for the average player to notice
Yeah.
anyways, unless you're really crunching numbers and doing DPS testing. Um, but six melee power, I get that's 6%. I get it, but that's not a number that's ever concerned me in terms of like, it's not gonna make or break my build. That 6 melee power, and I don't have a problem with like there being like the big thing with one of the things that they mentioned consistently when they introduced melee and range power, not just to the feat lines, the combat style lines, but to the game, was that these are mechanisms they want to use to help maintain more of a balance. So I expect these numbers to change and be tweaked over time.
Hmm.
Um, which basically brought everything down to the mini shot and 10k stars, and then the armor, PRR and MRR changes, which was the PRR. I haven't really noticed a major shift, but I would say the MRR is where I noticed my numbers going down more than PRR. And I think if I was running Mark of Death, that would be a little bit more noticeable, because that was the quest that was the raid that really showed me the difference between having MRR and not having MRR, because of the abbots bursting. So
Well, I really can feel I can feel a difference when I'm running like in-game Epic Elite stuff. Seems like I'm dancing around a lot more, jumping around and not standing still near as much. Um, so I don't
definitely
know
the
if it's
PRR,
that.
there
I don't know
is
if
an
it's
effect.
yeah. I don't know if it's that change or that change combined with the changes in the mob scaling, the Epic like the higher end quests. It could be a combination or it could be placebo. I don't know, but it seems like I'm taking more damage.
Well, I
But
think
that's fine. That's probably a good thing.
for me, what I think what it came down to is that because the PRR didn't change as much, and it's not a linear, like every point of PRR doesn't give you the same benefit. Uh,
Right.
so that the more you have, the less effective each point is. So a lot of my characters already had. My characters tend to fall into one of two places. They have a pretty high amount of PRR, so losing what they did was not as much of an alteration change kind of thing. It wasn't as impactful. And the other end of the spectrum is the characters that uh, don't have very much PRR, so losing what they did doesn't really. It basically means that when they die, they're at negative 100 instead of negative 60, which is still dead. So I feel like that was kind of where most of my experience kind of ended up. The guys that had the PRR enough to really make a difference, it wasn't as a noticeable impact, and the guys that have so little PRR that it does make a difference are dying. We're dying anyway. So as the MRRs, I think where it kind of was more noticeable for me, particularly with the number of Abishai you got running around in some of the new requests, and those just that AOE stuff. And I haven't run it a lot, but the Abbot strikes me as an area where that would be also noticeable, mostly because of his fire burst, and actually the Defile of the Just, which I am running, the dragon or the Erenhes at the end, her dragon breath. I've noticed that was a lot more effective against my cleric the last couple weeks. Like it was killing him outright,
Yeah.
which was before it hadn't been. So,
She doesn't always do her dragon breath, though, right?
um,
If you surround her fast enough, she won't do it, right?
I would not say that is my experience. I would say that it's a fairly consistent attack for her.
If you're running Epic Normal or something, oftentimes, at least in the public groups, I tend to run the raid in. Yeah, she usually dies before the fire breath comes out.
I'm not talking about the bombardment. Like she's got a dragon breath attack that's separate from the actual
Oh,
bombardment.
okay.
Okay.
Like the thing, like the big boom that everyone talks about, that's an airship bombardment kind of thing. which is probably my chief complaint about the raid, is that the area that it tells you is going to be affected does not match the area that is affected, which can be problematic. But no, she actually has a fire dragon breath, like the draconic incarnation
Oh, I haven't seen
breath.
it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you're really up close to her, it can be hard to see, particularly if she goes the other direction. But my cleric kind of tended to not be as close, but still in range of that dragon breath. And I noticed recently that that was a more lethal option for her compared to me. Anyways, as far as mini shot and 10k star, I don't have anyone that actually uses 10k stars. But in terms of mini shot, I would say that I am quite happy with the changes. And I think this has to do with how I tend to look at the numbers. I like seeing big numbers. A whole bunch of numbers scrolling by that are smaller don't stand out to me in the same way that, ooh, that arrow did 2,500 points of damage. Sweet. That's just kind of how I react to the numbers. So even though I don't know if I haven't crunched the numbers or anything, and I know I'm getting less shots, but it feels more powerful to me because I see bigger numbers.
Well, that was their whole point of making the change to mini shot is you're going to get fewer shots, but they're going to be more powerful. And the problem with that is if you have a bow that does a lot of proc, or you're into a destiny that does a lot of proc damage, you're going to get fewer chances to do proc damage.
Very
which
true.
is why some people don't like the change to mini shot, but
which I totally get. And I'm sure I'm actually losing DPS in the long run. But I've always been a player that I feel more powerful when my numbers are bigger, not because I have more numbers, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, in any case, so up to 28 a whole. Let's go around the table. Let's give it a letter grade. What do you think?
B plus.
I think I'll give it around a B minus.
I'd say B plus. I like B plus. It's a good place to land. And that comes mostly from a standpoint of it didn't really deviate my gameplay a lot. Like the new stuff didn't really deviate my gameplay a lot, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think that everything was really quality. I don't really have any complaints. It just didn't quite have the ooh-ah factor to push it into the A range.
I don't think it was meant to. I think it was, just another little segment until we get to update 29. Well, we should see the ooh-ah factor, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Right. Yeah, I agree. The quests are okay, but they're a little short. There's not a lot to them. They're pretty straightforward. There's not a lot to really sink your teeth into. There's not a lot of immersion, in my opinion. But they're okay for what they are. It's a little quest pack to get us ready for. It's really a build up to Epic Shroud. It seems like.
Yeah, I enjoyed the quests, and you look at the quests throughout the game, and there's a lot of quests that I really enjoy, and then there's quests like the Pit and the Crucible that just kind of really stand out for me.
That you enjoy, right?
Yeah, and they're like the really, for whatever their mechanics are just really enjoyable and different. Then there's like Tomb of the Tormented, which stands out because it has this really interesting mechanic. It can be tedious for some, but it has a different mechanic and stuff like that. These quests didn't really have either of those, which isn't bad. Most of the quests in the game don't have that, and I like most of the quests in the game. So.
Now, if people haven't tried out this pack yet, when you do the quest for the first time, take it slow and check everything out. I ran it the first time with the Damsels, but then I ran with some other people, and I went in Subversion, as an example. We did all the options with the Damsels. I was telling these guys, okay, let's do the optionals. They had no idea that there were optionals. And it's quite a bit of XP doing the optionals in Subversion. So I always recommend go slow and check them out before you start zerging your way through quests.
Yeah, and look around in Subversion. There might be some Easter eggs in the background.
Yep. Oh, they have some really cool stuff in there.
Yeah.
We didn't mention it, but I would say that I felt like the XP was appropriate all the way around for
Yeah.
the quests.
Yep.
It didn't stand out as too much or too little,
I agree. It was good
which
balance.
probably contributes to the fact that they didn't really stand out. And it wasn't like, "Who I'm coming here every day for XP," or "Don't come back here. There's no XP." It's just, yeah,
I think if you're at Cap, Tavern Brawl could be a good Heartseed farm because it's
it
so
could be.
short.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But for XP farm, yeah, probably not. It's okay. I think I'm getting around like 70,000 on Epic Elite, something like that. So it's good. So it's
Yeah.
solid XP. It's a good XP option if you want it.
Yeah, all around, I think solid update. Gradation of the game moved everything forward in a fantastic way. Um, maybe it lacked a little bit of ooh ah, but if everything
Well,
had ooh
ooh-ah
ah,
is what you
nothing would
make
have
of it,
ooh ah
right?
factor, right? So
I am trying Insubversion. You have my assassin. She's 27 now, but she was 25 when I tried this. She's killed only 8 things. And I think if I've counted right, the minimum that you have to kill is 6. The 4 elementals at the beginning. Then you run to the barrier that separates you from the last room where the slot is. There's a Warforged Titan there. You have to kill that to get the barrier to drop, and then you have to kill the name slot. So that's 6 that you have to, and I've got it down to 8. So I'm trying to get it down to the minimum.
nice, well done. Yeah. So with that, devs, if you're listening, great job. Like the pack. Excited about the next step. Yeah, I guess
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
so much more excited about what's coming next. Um, and I'm kind of distracted by what's coming next. Like cap going up to 30 and stuff like that. That this update kind of the quest for this update kind of fell on a back burner. So
Yeah, me
um,
too. Like I'm so pumped for Epic
yeah,
Shroud. That's my favorite of any quest or raid, anything, any quest, any raid in the game. Shroud is my favorite. I
yeah.
can't wait.
Quality pack. If you haven't bought it and you're considering buying it, I do recommend buying it. I think it's a quality pack. You'll enjoy it. Um, good content, good loot. Particularly if you're not overly geared, like I am. Some great loot and fun quests, good variety. Yeah, definitely, I give it a thumbs up. So, let's see. Let's talk about game news. There's a lot of game news this week, and we'll try and hit it hard and fast because it's a lot of fun stuff. We'll start with some of the easier stuff. Guild ships. They do have tentative plans to offer a new stateroom amenity to fill the last unused spot. There's no ETA to announce it, though. They do not have plans to offer a new guild ship in the near future, which I'm fine with. I'm not sure. If you did a new guild ship, I can't really imagine what it would be other than a new skin, and I don't really feel like I personally wouldn't buy a new skin.
Yeah.
That would, but I'm not that kind of person. I think it would be if instead of offering a new guild ship, I think it would be a cosmetic skin for your ship would probably be better received.
Oh, Alyssa would love that.
I'm sure she would. A pirate, make it a pirate theme or
Yeah, that would be cool.
what are some other themes you could do with it?
Or the Halloween theme they had going on.
Yeah, Halloween theme would be fun. You could probably do like dress it up like a House Cannith theme. I think it'd be fun if you could get like cannons. Some of the cannon, like you step on a little button and the cannon fires, even though you can't really fire anything. That could be kind of fun.
Yes.
That would be
Just
neat.
stuff like that. Anyways, devs, if you need some ideas about guild ships, we did talk about that in a debate a while back. We had a debate on what we should have for amenities. Let's see. Veil of Twilight is going to have a price change because it's getting spruced up with legendary content in addition to the standard heroic content, including legendary green steel. The price of the pack will change. It will go up to 985 turbine points. I forgot to look up what it is currently, but I want to say it's 700 or 800 and 95 turbine points probably. In any case, it's going to be a little more expensive. This doesn't come as a shock to I think most folks because it's kind of the way that tends to work. They did this with Giant Hold too, so
Yeah, Necro 4 as well. I mean, they've
yeah,
always done this. It's completely fair, and they've given us anyone who hasn't. I don't know why you wouldn't have owned Veil of Twilight by now, but
yeah,
if maybe you're a new player or something, that would be a case. Well, if you haven't, if you don't own it yet, they've given you a heads up, so you have time to purchase it at
if
the lower
you
price.
if you don't own Veil of Twilight, my first question is why don't you own Veil of Twilight yet? Because it's pound for pound probably. Well, it may not be any more the best pack you could get, but it will be with Update 29. Just because of the amount of content you can have, its replayability, and what's there. It's not just what's in the Veil either. It also includes Hound of Zoriat, which is also becoming legendary, and Vision of Destruction. So when all is said and done, we're talking about 5 heroic quests, probably
think
5 legendary
Vision-
quests.
I don't think Vision's going to be legendary.
It's not, but you're
Okay.
talking about 3 heroic raids and 2 legendary raids, all in the same pack. And
Yeah, well
the
worth
heroic content is level. There's 16 quests, I believe.
16.
So I mean, that's stuff you can use for iconic. It's iconic content. Yeah. If you don't own it, get it, and you have an opportunity to save a little points before it goes up.
According to the wiki, it's 850 right now.
Yeah, that's about right. So
So going to 995 isn't that much to get legendary.
no, I mean it's only 150 turbine points. But you can save 150 turbine points and spend on something else. If you don't have it and you don't plan on running it anytime soon, I might wait until like the week before Update 29 hits to buy it and see if they put adventure packs on sale between now and then. And if they do, buy it. That is my official recommendation. Buy Veil of Twilight. Unless you're still on the fence about the game, in which case I'd say you probably should still buy Veil of Twilight.
yeah.
That's a great pack. Anyways, additionally, although they are adding legendary mode to Tempest Spine, they have decided it will remain a free raid rather than being purchased item. Tempest Spine was DDO's first raid and is one of the many festive honors for the upcoming 10th birthday. They felt it was appropriate for it to remain free. Thanks. And there was Legendary Shroud. This is a comment from one of the devs. Legendary Shroud won't use the same flagging nor quest structure as Heroic. There won't be a Legendary Coalescence Chamber as example.
Thank God.
I don't know. Cold Chamber's not that bad. It's just a little
It's
bit.
got great XP too.
It does. I get the jumping thing. It's not everyone's favorite. Otherwise, I don't mind the quest at all. Raid bypass timers. Let's talk about raid bypass timers. So there was a post on the forums, I think from Cordovan. I'm going to summarize it instead of reading it.
Okay.
Raid bypass timers that currently exist in the game will continue to work as they currently do for all the raids that are currently in the game. Legendary raids, which means that the challenge rating on normal is 31 or higher. There are no such raids currently in the game, but we are getting 3 legendary raids with the next pack. The raid timers will not work on legendary raids. Instead, they will add legendary raid bypass timers to daily dice as a rare chest drop and in the DDO store. So that's kind of the plan. So your current raid bypass timers will work as they currently do. They will not work for the new raids because those raids will be legendary, for which you'll need a legendary raid bypass timer. Why are they doing this? A couple of reasons. One, because the number of raid bypass timers currently in the game is particularly large. Part of that has to do with how many were given out with daily dice. They feel that they gave out too many in the anniversary card event, which I do not disagree with. They gave out a little 4 per pair of cards was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up with I still have a sizable stack from that because I was trading across servers. So and duping was also a problem. And Cordovan also mentioned that frankly, raid bypass timers aren't exactly making them a whole lot of money right now because there's so many in the game. So they it's a store item. It should make them a little bit of coin now and then, and be somewhat of a profit. That's what keeps the lights on, right? So, although I didn't by any means get the sense that they're really trying to break the bank with legendary raid bypass timers. There's also a lot of community reaction and feedback that the raid bypass timers have been really hurting the raiding scene. And I've mentioned this a few times, I think, on the show, where I think for me, where the breakdown is, if you think about the lifespan of a raid, there's the first generation of players that go in there, they really learn it from scratch, and then over time they teach what I would call the second generation of players, which is kind of the people that come in a little bit after them. And then there's like the third generation and the fourth generation, which, by the time you're talking about the third generation of people playing a raid, I mean, we're talking like 6 months after the raid comes out at least, if not longer than that. And with the raid bypass timers, what happens is the first generation of players burns through the raid so fast, the second generation doesn't really learn from the first generation or even get involved with it, and then they have trouble, like finding the first generation stragglers that really kind of help the second generation get into it, kind of thing. I think that's where it breaks down for me.
Right. Like I understand why they were initially introduced. There was problems with guildies not being able to run with other guildies because they're on the 3-day timer, and it's all well and good to be able to run the raid when you want with your friends, but I think the problem is that just being able to farm the raids so quickly, it's really hurting the longevity of the raids, in my opinion.
Well, absolutely. Right now I'm trying to get 20 completion in Deathworm to get my first tier 3 Thunderforge, and it's really difficult to find a Deathworm raid. I get them in guild, but I get maybe 2 a week. Usually it's just 1, and 20 weeks is a really long time.
Yeah, it's. I think the biggest thing for raid timers, like, I don't have a problem that they exist. I think the thought that there's too many of them in the game is spot on. And again, part of that's because of duping, and part of it's because they gave out too many.
Right.
Right.
I know some people in my guild have run hundreds of Defiler of the Just.
Yeah.
I just got my first.
Oh yeah. I mean,
20th not too
there's
long
people.
ago.
Yeah, there's people when they're getting their 20th, within a day or two
Yeah,
of the raid coming
that's
out.
just-
So it's just silly. I mean,
Which I don't understand because that's so many. That's too much of one sitting. That's also kind of. I've got, in full disclosure, I've run Defile the Just 100 times. Now, what that practically means is I've got 4 characters that have made it to 20. So I'm
Right.
cycling through. I am using raid bypass timers because I have them, but I'm using alts too as part of it. So, and I tend to only run like 3 or 4 in a day, if that. More in one sitting is too much, and I usually run it like 2 or 3 times a week. So
So do you think it would be for the people who like to run it like 20 in a day or two? Do you really think it would stop them playing as much if they limited it so you can only run 3?
I think they stop playing faster because they achieved that goal of the new raid sooner.
I agree.
I don't have any hard proof of that, but that's kind of my sense of things. So, and I think this will be less of an issue too, because if you think about it, they're releasing 3 legendary raids at the same time.
Right. And one of them's the Shroud, which people still run.
Well, and the thing with the Shroud is you're still going to have ransack going for those ingredients if it works the same way Heroic Shroud did. So the ransack penalty will help a little bit with the bypass farming problem, but
here's kind of my point, right? Like,
not all
in
raids are
one
gonna be
day,
like that.
instead of running, say, Hound or Epic Hound or Legendary Hound of Zoriat, 6 times in a night, you could run all of them twice,
Right.
or run, do one of each, right, in a night. So there's 3 raids to run, which just ensure, assuming that you would want to run them equally in compared to how much you wanted to run Defile of the Just, you would need a third of the bypass timers to do that. So
Right.
yeah. So there you go. So that's the bypass news. If you purchase raid bypass timers in the sale that was the recent sale with the intention of using them for Update 29's new raids, and you still have the timers available and wish to seek a refund, please get in touch with customer support, which I think is fair. All right, let's talk about some of the fun stuff. Level 30. All right, we're going to go through a lot of information here, and then we'll talk about it. Stop and talk about some stuff. So new character features gained from leveling up to level 30. This is the current plans. Note, everything we're going to talk about here is subject to change. Gonna get out of the way. I'm not going to say it again, other than right now, it's subject to change. So don't. And some of it already has changed. So don't totally freak out. Level 29, you'll get a Tier 3 Epic Destiny feat slot, which means they're adding some new Destiny feats that we'll talk about. All the new ones require 3 Destinies capped, although not always in the same tree. And then you will also get +2 Fate points at 29. So that's what you can spend on your Twist of Fate slots. At level 30, you will get an extra Twist of Fate slot, a normal feat slot. Level 30 is the 3rd level, which you can use for epic feats that you can qualify for as well. You will get another 3 fate points, and you will get a legendary feat slot, which we'll also talk about later. Some notes on that. It doesn't matter how many twist slots you have, you will get 1 more, and the point structure will be maintained. So if you have 3 slots, your 4th slot will cost 4 points to unlock Tier 1. The 5th slot will cost 5 points to unlock Tier 1, and so on and so forth as you go up and higher. If you drop below level 29 or 30 by reincarnation, you would then lose the points and the slots until you level up again. There was a comment, I did see someone suggested spreading out those points across other epic levels, which got an interesting from Vergwil, so that might change in that direction. See, the normal feat slot is similar to the slot you get at 27. It can hold lower level feats that you can usually take, aka not Epic Destiny feats. The Epic Destiny feats can also hold lower tier Epic Destiny feats, and of course they can always take toughness in those if you don't have anything you want to take. The legendary feat slot can only be filled from a specific list of new feats. Epic Reincarnation and Iconic Reincarnation will require level 30 after update 29, which they talked about as well. Also, according to their tests, if you flag for reincarnation before update 29, as in your character sheet shows the big reincarnate button, you will be able to reincarnate after update 29 without further changes. You won't have to get the additional XP, which is kind of nice. Any quick thoughts on that stuff?
I didn't see the interesting comment from Farg about spreading out
It
the
was
fate
buried.
points, but I think they should stay the way they are now and not spread them out, because that's a lot of power, really. Being able to
point's not that much power. But...
somebody who's maxed out, no, but somebody who isn't, sure, that's 5 by the time you get to 30.
Well, I think the comment was like, level 20, was it 22, 23, and 25 don't really have anything on them, so maybe taking some of those points and putting them somewhere in there might make them more interesting. I don't know. Vargul just said interesting. It's not an indication that it's going to change. Just liked the comment, and they'll probably talk about it. So, right.
And I was on Lamania. I don't know if you were going to talk about that later, but and I leveled somebody up to 30, and honestly, the one feat, I think it was the Destiny, Tier 3 Epic Destiny feat, I couldn't find one that I thought was really interesting. The class feat I did, because she's a rogue, so I took the one Ethereal of the Plane, I think it was.
We'll talk about the feats later.
But, okay.
Haven't got to the feats yet.
Okay.
See, Epic XP curve. So originally, what they were going to do was they were going to completely flatten out the XP curve. I'm going to paraphrase a lot of this because there's a lot of information. Okay. So they were going to flatten out the XP curve such that you needed 825,000 XP for every single epic level. That's where they started. A lot of people kind of chimed in and said that they didn't really like that because they wanted to get through some of the earlier levels faster. They liked getting through some of those earlier epic levels faster. So they came back late yesterday and said, so there's now a modified curve what they're considering. Instead of incrementing 150,000 per level, which is what it is currently, they're looking at a curve that is only 50,000 per level. What does that mean practically? So getting to level 21 would be under the newest proposed changes would be twice as much XP at 600,000 to get to level 21. Currently, it's 300,000, and then it would be only 50,000 more per level. So where that ends up is it costs a little bit. You have to get a little bit higher total XP up until level 27, at which point it evens out. So 27 would currently today would be 27 with the current proposal for update 29, and then it keeps going up. So it ends up being that the last level 29 to 30 is 1 million XP, 1,050,000 XP to make that level. That's the short version. As far as when the change happens, whatever the new curve looks like, whatever level you are before up 29, you will still be that level after up to 29, even if you don't have enough XP to actually make that level then. They do recommend that if you are banking a level that you do take the level. So that's their basic recommendations. If you are banking a level, take it before update 29 hits. Depending on where you are on the curve, it might get you to a level sooner and stuff like that. So, did I do a good job with that? Anything else I needed to add in there? Any thoughts on that?
I'm not sure why they don't just have it level up to 28 like now and then do the new
There's a lot of feedback that
29 and 30.
There's some feedback that the later levels of that are currently in is a lot. It just feels like too much. So currently, to go from 26 to 27 is 1.2 million, and then it's another 1.35 million to get to 28. And I would say I would agree with that kind of sentiment. If the first levels feel really fast, and comparatively the later levels feel kind of slow. That's kind of my sense of how it goes.
Yeah, I agree. The early levels you feel a little. I mean, it's nice. I gotta say, it's nice getting your more powerful abilities and gear quicker. But yeah, at the same time, the early levels feel really, really fast. Probably too fast. So I understand them putting some more XP at the early portion of your epic lives.
It also doesn't make any sense to me to say that 27 to 28 is going to be 1.35 million XP, and then 28 to 29 is going to be
800.
half
Yeah,
that.
that's a good point.
It doesn't make a lot of sense that
Yep.
28 to 29 will be less XP than 27 to 28. That just doesn't. No version of V&D that I know of works that way. It's always either the same or more to get to that next level. So. And for those that are wondering, if they didn't change the curve at all, it would take 9,750,000 XP to hit cap, as opposed to what they're proposing, which is 8,250,000, which is still a significant. I mean, that's what 1.6 million more than what you need currently to cap.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yeah,
not
that's a lot.
insignificant. It's not insignificant.
It would have made the last two levels feel like forever.
Yeah.
What, over 2 million XP?
Oh.
Jeez.
I actually think that I like the what they just proposed. I think it's a good middle ground between the two extremes. Personally, I think that's where I like it.
I think it's fine, but if they're going to put more XP required into the game to reach cap instead of just leaving it at 6.6 and flattening it across 10 levels, I'd like to see more. I guess more things to encourage you to stick to quests at your character level, so that people aren't just running, Vaughn 3 and Spies in the House at level 29 to get to 30. I think remnants were a good start.
You should start getting penalties, I think.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. You might.
Are there XP penalties in it? I don't know.
Well, wait.
I don't-
No, I don't think there are.
There
There may
aren't.
not be. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there are. So, yeah, maybe some more. Maybe stick another saga or something there at the end.
You know what? If someone wants to choose their gameplay to say that they're going to run the same 3 quests over and over and over and over and over again, I'm not going to stop them. If that's the game you want to play, have at it.
I think it's fine
I
if
like
people
a
want to
change of
do.
scenery.
Yeah, if people want to do that, I think it's fine to let them do that. I just don't want that to be the optimal way to do it. I don't want to be feel like
I don't think it is
that's the
now.
best way.
Personally, I don't think it is now. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad way to do it. I don't necessarily think it's the optimal way, but that's me. Um, in any case, so those are the XP changes. Let's start talking about feats. Uh, so we get some nice feats. Just to start off with, before we get into feats, so starting in Update 29, every epic level will grant you the following. This is in addition to what they already give you. +6 universal spell power, and a 1% discount to the spell point cost of your spells. Also, each epic level you have will grant the following to your hirelings, pets, and summoned creatures. +5 melee and range power, +10 universal spell power, and +5 PRR and MRR. So everybody gets those. Everyone already gets melee and range power, if you're wondering why it's not in there. So now let's see. We're going to start with the legendary feat. So this is what you can take at level 30. You have to take one of these feats with this slot. You can't put them pick something else outside of this list. A lot of these feats are meant to be a little more powerful for characters that have built for versatility. Most of them include parts that are useful to many players. Okay, we're trying to run these as quick as we can. Scion of the Plane of the Earth, +4 to the DCs of Conjuration spells, +2 to DCs of other spells, +20 PRR, +10 Acid spell power, +30 Universal spell power, and add 2d20 acid damage to weapon and unarmed attacks, which scales with spell power. Scion of the Plane of Air, +4 DCs to evocation spells, +2 to other spells, +4% to dodge and dodge cap, +10 electric spell power and universal spell power, and adds 2d20 electric damage to weapon and unarmed attacks, scaling with spell power. Scion of the Plane of Earth, +25% spell critical damage with all spells, +10 PRR, +10 MRR, +10 fire spell power, and +30 universal spell power. Also adding 2d20 fire damage to the weapon and unarmed attacks, scaling with spell power. There's a theme here. Scion of the Plane of Water, +200 maximum spell points, +20 MRR, +20 cold spell power, +30 universal spell power. Add 2d20 cold damage to weapon and unarmed attacks, scaling with spell power. Scion of the Feywild, +10 sonic spell power, +30 universal spell power, +4 to the DCs of enchantment spells, +2 to the other spells. Adds 2d20 sonic damage to weapon and unarmed attacks, and +20 healing amp. My bard says yay. Scion of the Shadowfell, +4 to the DCs of necromancy spells, +2 to other spells, +40 negative spell power, +20 negative amplification, assuming you take healing from negative, and weapon and unarmed attacks heal you for either 1d6 positive damage or 1d6 negative damage if you are undead. Scion of the Plane of Earth. On the last one, the Shadowfell, there was a comment about why that was +40 negative spell power instead of +10 negative spell power, +30 universal like the other ones. So that might change. Scion of the Elemental Plane, a permanent blur and while sneaking permanent displacement, but they are looking at taking the displacement part away and adding something different. It was initially proposed as +1 point of sneak attack damage for every 2 points of hide that you have, but I think they're going to change that to 4. They're going to reduce the sneak attack damage somewhat. +2 to all skills, and a permanent invisibility guard as per the item effect. It was a little unclear to me if it was 2 points for every hide, your hide score or hide ranks. I kind of assume it's hide score.
From the way they wrote it, it sounded like hide score, yeah.
Yeah, I would say hide score.
That's my guess. On that one, just some notes that they were talking about what to add in there. Some players suggested assassinate DCs. Someone wrote that it's something very compelling is not added to replace the displacement effect, and they don't see this feat being very attractive. I think it was Steelstar said that he agrees. Assassinate DCs don't change that. There's definitely a need for assassinate DCs in legendary levels, but they don't want assassins to feel required to take this feat over the others here. They do not want non-assassin characters to feel this feat isn't for them because they gained assassin DCs they can't use. They're not ignoring the desire for more assassinate DCs, but the feat isn't the right place for them. So, moving right along. Sign of the Astral Plane, +4 to tactical feat DCs, +4 to double strike and double shot, an additional +4 if you are centered, +4% to dodge, and +4 to reflex saves. Sign of the Mechanist, +20 repair and rust spell power, +20 universal spell power, +20 repair amplification, assuming you can be healed from repair, and +10% fortification bypass on weapons and unarmed attacks. You also gain Master Reconstruction, which shares a cooldown with Communion of Scribing. Sign of the Celestia, +20 is positive light and alignment spell power, and +20 universal spell power. 30% critical damage with positive light and alignment spells, +150 maximum hit points, and +4 to will saves. Sign of Elysium, summon creatures gain the following: +25 PRR, MRR, +20 melee power, range power, and universal spell power, 100% fortification, and gain 5% chance to ignore incoming damage entirely, not affecting positive, negative, or repair effects. Sign of the Arborea, +20 melee and range power, 4 spell power, and universal spell power, +2 bonus the enchantment bonus of your weapons, +4 to fortitude saves. And then the fun one, Sign of Limbo, you get +2 determination bonus to all saves. You also get 8 buffs, each 1 minute long, that cycle randomly. Those buffs are +40 melee range power and +80 spell power, +16% double strike, double shot, and 20% spell critical damage, +30 PRR and MRR, +20% dodge, and 40 healing amp. These are the ands are together, comma, +20 damage reduction law. Your unarmed and weapon strikes deal and spells deal 120 or 1d20 chaos damage, and each time you will be damaged, you have a 5% chance to completely ignore the damage other than healing effects. Or the last one is confetti explodes around your shoulders. Woohoo! All right, thoughts on the legendary feats, and pick the one you're most excited for.
Personally, I think Arborea, the +20 melee in range power, that's going to be a little tough to pass up, I think. I think for a lot of, I know the kind of this, the sneaky, I forget which one it was called, the one that adds the
Shadow
bonus based on
no.
hide. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind of, I think that's that. I haven't crunched the math or anything, but once you crunch the math, I think those are going to be competitive. But I think a lot of builds are going to really want that. It's going to be hard to pass up the melee or range power, and I like the last one. Just sounds really fun. If I have a,
Doesn't it?
if I have a non if I have a non-serious character, I'm definitely taking that. Maybe on
I
my
might take that in some of my serious.
Maybe-
Those are nice. I mean, it's got better buffs than everything else.
Well,
It's just you don't get to pick it.
It's just I think the thing is why I wouldn't take it like on my main character is because it's just unpredictable. You're not going to know what you're getting and when.
I would get confetti all the time.
Sahba?
Well, my assassin rogue likes the ethereal plane one. But they're going to change it, so who knows what it's going to be like.
I think it's going
What's
to
all
keep most
in-
of the stuff, right?
Well,
I mean, the thing you're losing looking at taking out is permanent displacement while you're sneaking, which I'm hardly ever sneaking, so I don't care about that.
I sneak all the time.
And they're reducing the damage, which is fine.
Right. So
It's
if they
balancing.
reduce it enough, then I just might go with the Arborea to get the +20 melee power.
Yeah,
I would have to
see
crunch the
that.
numbers.
I think the thing that's out of that one that's the best part of it is the invisibility guard because you lose aggro with that. Yeah, the problem for me is I have so many different characters that I can see a lot of these being really nice. So there's that. I don't know. I think the sign of Arborea, the melee power and force power, it's a really nice one. And Limbo is also the Limbo one just seems so much fun. It's a little more random, but it's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's probably a good thing that I can't change these on a whim because I'd probably go back and forth depending on content on a lot of these.
You can. Fred says
yeah.
visit him.
It's true, but it costs things. The hardest thing for me, I think, is going to be my Warlock. Trying to pick one for my Warlock because there's a lot of good options there. So I think they are appropriate for a capstone.
Right.
There are, there's several that I probably I mean, just at first glance, I can't see anyone on my characters taking air, water, or
Summon
or
one.
Mechanus. Yeah, and the summon one.
Yeah.
Um, Having said that, if you do a lot of summons, the summon one's nice for your summons.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with any of the stuff that's there. I just
Yeah,
tend
it'd be
not to use
interesting
them.
to see, to actually run a build around summons and see what you can do with that
Somebody
new
send
feat.
me a
See how
summons
effective it
build.
is.
If you send me a summons build, I will share it on the air. That'd be kind of fun to look at.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, so there's a lot of fun build options in there, and some ones that are clear winners.
If you're let me think, a wizard who goes into undead form and you summon the skeletons and everything, where you have a little train following you, that would be a nice one.
If I'm that character, I'm taking Shadowfell.
Well, I one life with my wizard.
Sad.
I didn't actually fight anything. I let all my summons do it.
Yeah. It's certainly an option.
I just stood back and went, "Go at it," and they did.
All right, moving right along. Feel free, either in the chat or in the comments, tell us what you like out of these ones. We're gonna move on to the Destiny feats. I'm gonna try and continue reading quickly. So this is what you get to pick at level 29. You can pick the ones that currently exist. These ones will only be available at level 29, and they all require 3 Destinies. Wind Through the Trees requires 3 Primal Destinies. When enemies hit or miss you, they have a 5% chance to be knocked down with no save. Can only trigger once every 12 seconds. Dire Charge requires 3 Martial Destinies. Charge forward to the targeted foe. That foe and all nearby foes are subject to +2 weapon damage and have a chance to be stunned. Stun DC is 25 plus the highest ability modifier plus total level plus bonus to stun attacks. So right there, you're looking at what is that? Plus 54 plus your modifier and stun DCs. Arcane Pulse is 3 Destinies. It's a spell. A magical pulse of force reverberates through the target's body, dealing 3d6 plus 6 force damage every 2 seconds for a duration of 16 seconds. Spell can stack on the target up to 5 times, increasing damage with each stack. Yeehaw. Deific Warding, 3 Divine Destinies. When you take damage, add 1 stack of Deific Warding, plus 1 Sacred bonus to MRR. It can stack up to 30 times. 1 stack is removed every 30 seconds. Dreamscape, plus 2, or it's 2 Primal and 1 Arcane Spheres. Activate to pop off to the land of dreams. You're invulnerable and invisible for 5 seconds and return with a random 30-second buff with a 1-minute cooldown. Yeah, they like these kind of funky, crazy ones. I think the list for those, what you can get for that, is in the show notes, and I didn't put that in here. So I apologize. You can go look it up yourself. See, Harbinger of Chaos, 1 Primal and 2 Martial Destinies. With weapon and unarmed attacks, you deal 1d20 Bane damage against all targets, an additional 2d20 Chaos damage against lawful targets, scales with melee or range power, depending on your weapons. Fount of Life, 1 Primal and 2 Divine, plus 20 Healing Amp and positive spell power. Embodiment of Order, 1 Divine and 2 Martial. With weapon and unarmed attacks, you deal 10 Bane damage against all targets, an additional 20 Law damage against chaotic targets. Notice that the Embodiment of Order is a static amount of damage, and the Chaos one is a die roll. It's kind of a fun little note. Spirit Blades, 1 Divine and 2 Arcane. Create a series of spectral blades which fly at nearby opponent. Each of the 5 blades does 2d20 piercing and 1d20 force damage. Arcane Warrior, 2 Arcane and 1 Martial. Your weapon and unarmed attacks grant you a stack of Arcane Warrior, which is plus 1 universal spell power. Your offensive spells grant you a stack of Arcane Warrior, physical, which is plus 1 melee and range power. Each of these stacks up to 20 times, and each stack lasts for 6 seconds. You may gain a stack of each no more than once per second. There you go, Destiny feats. Anything stand out for you guys?
Yeah, I really like the Arcane Warrior. I think that's really, really creative and interesting. I think there's a lot of potential there with possible battle caster type builds like Eldritch Knights or Battle Clerics.
Warlocks.
Yeah, Warlocks. Yeah, I'm wondering for my Battle Cleric if Radiant Servant Aura will proc this. Like, will proc the physical? I'm guessing not because it says offensive spells. But if it does, like, if Radiant Servant Aura procs the physical, then that's going to be amazing for Battle Clerics. But I would guess it doesn't.
I like the Arcane Pulse. I like dots. That's fun. again, my Warlock is going to have a hard choice here. Everyone else kind
Yeah.
of clearly falls into like one or two places, but the
Yeah.
Warlock's got a few that could go
I
either
think
way.
the other thing with Arcane Warrior, I like how it encourages you to mix up between offensive casting and melee, because every time you do melee, it rewards your offensive casting and vice versa. So I just think that's really cool how that feat kind of encourages a build to run a mix of casting and melee in their DPS. I think that's really creative.
The Dreamscape is kind of fun. I think my only complaint with that is that you have to activate it. I'd rather it
Yeah,
every 30 seconds you got a new buff and it, you know, or if I didn't have to do anything with it, I'd much rather prefer that
I
as
felt the
opposed
same
to
way.
I have to click this every minute. That was
Yeah,
kind of my chief complaint there.
yeah,
But
same here when I read
thematically,
it. Yeah.
I mean thematically, you've got someone in Shirati with Dreamscape and the Limbo legendary feat. Yeah, have some fun. Could be kind of entertaining. Um, Other feats. So adding additional other feats. These are minimum level 21 feats, which also all of these grant 110 maximum spell points. Wellspring of Power. Activate to gain plus 150 universal spell power and plus 20% spell critical damage for 30 seconds on a 3-minute cooldown. An Arcane Insight. Activate to gain plus 6 to all spell DCs and plus 6 spell penetration for 30 seconds, also with a 3-minute cooldown. I like what they're doing here, adding that power, but it's on a limited cooldown so that they can add better power for both of these. Minimum level 24 feats. Improved Augment Summoning, which requires Augment Summoning. Your summoned creatures have plus 8 to all ability scores, plus 10% dodge, and plus 100 maximum hit points. Burst of Glacial Wrath. It's a cone spell, deals 30d6 cold damage and freezes the creatures. Fortitude save negates the freeze. The DC will be 20 plus the highest of your intelligence, wisdom, or charisma modifiers. Notice that there's no save for damage on this. Kind of popped out to me. Intensify spell, a mana magic feat, plus 75 spell power at the cost of plus 15. It's another empower spell basically. Emboldened magic, it's a meta magic that gives plus 2 DCs to all spells with DCs for 10 spell powers. Again, I like that. I like the help for DC casters. So, also, so there's the following going to be Master of something feats, which basically. So, as an example, Master of Air, your Shocking Grasp, Electric Loop, and Lightning Bolt spells no longer have a maximum caster level. So it's going to be such and such spells no longer have a maximum caster level. I'm going to reduce the reading here. Earth is Acid Spray, Acid Arrow, and Acid Blast. Water is Cold Ray, Snowball Storm, Nags, Biting Cold, which seems oddly higher than the other. I don't know why that's not Frost Lance. That was kind of weird. All the other ones tend to be 1, 2, 3. Fire is Burning Hand, Scorch, and Fireball. Master of the Dead is Chill Touch, Necrotic Ray, and Negative Energy Burst. Except Necrotic Ray doesn't actually have a maximum cash level, so they're tentatively looking at replacing it with Death Aura. It will replace with something. There was also a question regarding that why the Necrotic Touch, Bolt, and Blast were not chosen. Unlike every other spell, they currently cost 0 spell points and instead charge hit points. That would have to change before they could add meta magics to them. He'd be interested to hear if adding meta magics to them with a dramatic uptick in SP costs would be worth it for those playing Pale Masters. I think what he means by dramatic uptick in SP costs is you have none, and then you would be potentially adding spell point cost to them. Master of Light. Your Sunbolt, Searing Light, and Sunburst spells no longer have maximum cast levels. Artifice, Static Shock, Lightning Sphere, and Blast Rod, and Lightning Motes no longer have maximum casted. Wilds, Produce Flames, Creeping Cold, and Call Lightning, and Word of Balance spells. Music, Shout, Greater Shout, Sonic Blast, and Reverberate. Master of... And then... so those are all those spells with each of those have no maximum cast levels. Then Master of Knowledge, your Arcane Bolt and Arcane Blast spells now grant you 1 stack of Mental Owning, which is plus 3 universal spell power and plus 2 spell critical damage when cast. It can stack up to 30 times. 1 stack is removed every 6 seconds. The reason they did this is because most of the Evocation Archmage SLAs either don't benefit from a Master caster level increase or run into issues, like semi-infinite magic missile projectiles isn't ideal. Master Knowledge is specifically for Archmages. Tentatively, he'd like to add Meta Magic's Arcane Bolt and Blast for Archmages, possibly in Update 29. Level 30, Greater Rune, which is 1,000 untyped damage to a single enemy with no saving throw, costs 150 spell points. That's only available at level 30 because Rune is level 27, and this requires that. And then Artificers, a level 12 feat, which improves your base repair to 70%. This is requires Construct Essence. This is improved Construct Essence. Then Construct Exemplar at level 21. You're now considered a Construct. You have 100% base healing from repair and 100% damage from rust. You're immune to sleep, hold, person, energy drain, nauseated, exhaustion, and paralyzed effects, except those which physically hold you in place. You move to minute. This turns you into a Warforged. I'm gonna start there. You turn into a Warforged, but you continue to wear standard armor instead of Delsons. These are not meant to address any of the issues for Artificers, and these are not a substitute for an Artificer Pass, and they do not further decrease your positive healing. Also, Update 29, the DC for Rune Arms will benefit from all sources of evocation bonuses. They currently don't do that. They didn't have somewhere better to put it, but there you go. And there are currently no plans to remove cash level bonuses from any destinies or to add them to epic levels. Whew. Thoughts on other feats? Go.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah, that's so. There's just so much stuff coming out this week.
They are very
But
caster heavy.
I like that they are kind of addressing. I know a lot of complaints some players have had about the heroic spells becoming somewhat not as useful in epics because of the maximum caster levels. So it's nice to see them give you an option to bring those heroic spells, make them possibly useful again.
I know they're very caster heavy, but I feel like they all really make sense for epic levels for casters. And I think there's a certain amount of things like there's a lot of really good feats for melees, martial characters. I do not have problems picking feats with my martial characters, and they always seem to have a really good option. But with my casters, I don't know, the epic feats have always kind of been a little lackluster, and sometimes a lot more often than like my martial characters, they never take heroic feats with their epic level feats.
Right.
My casters do all the time, and that's going to change. I can tell you right now, that's going to change a lot. I particularly like the such and such spells no longer have a maximum cash level because they're almost always the SLAs that the sorcerer or sorcerers or whatever the classes get. So I really like that. I don't understand why the cold one is why water is Nyx batting cold instead of Frostlance. That's still really weird to me, but it's kind of nice if you're using those spells. And I think that Artificer improved construct essence has been a long time coming, so I kind of like that as well. There you go. There's all the feats. There's a lot of fun stuff there. Lemani was up this weekend a little bit. Well, yesterday and Thursday, I think. Some quick notes from that. Arcane Archer's elemental arrows now properly reflect the damage type they deal instead of all claiming to be acid. I didn't notice that because I only have acid. Shorty Champion's Audience with the Queen has had some of its random effects names changed so players can more easily tell them apart. The effects themselves remain unchanged. Let's see. Several heroic green steel effects have been renamed to properly reflect their existing bonus types and functions, such as healing amplification. The effects remain unchanged. Let's see. This is all on Lemania. It's not live yet. The tab on the dungeon entrance dialogue now says legendary for quests where the epic normal challenge rating is over 30. They adjusted some instances settings to reduce freeze-ups. How does Zoriat and Heroic? Zizzy is now immune to Rune and Tsunami.
Yay!
Didn't see that one coming.
Oh no! I'm shocked
Surprise.
they fixed that one.
Yeah. Some known issues. Legendary Tempest Spine and Hound of Zoriat can be entered, but are not yet in a previewable state. The Master of Feats do not yet work. The new Epic Magic Feats do not work. Burst of Glacial Wrath does not have the correct DC. Dire Charge doesn't have the correct DC. Let's see. Bursts of Glacial Wrath, Arcane Pulse, Spirit Blades, and Sign of Mechanus Reconstruct work when under the influence of a beholder's anti-magic field when they should not. See, all of those also do not require extra spell points to use meta magics when they should. And Greater Runes Tooltip incorrectly states the feat does 500. The feat functions correctly to display issues only. Yeehaw, are you excited yet? We don't even know about the quest yet.
Of course, we're excited.
Yeah, some fun stuff there.
I like the tab.
Oh,
I
yeah,
was
so
reading
it'll be
that
legendary.
wrong. Yeah.
Well, it's gonna say legendary instead of epic, which will help because there's a lot of stuff now that says legendary content versus epic content. I was actually a little concerned about how are you going to differentiate the two.
But everybody, I don't know if you guys heard, but on DDO Players News, Drac, the first time he went into an epic quest, he didn't realize he was going into an epic quest because he just got his first character to 20 and was a little surprised at how much more powerful the bad guys are.
It could be a shift, yeah.
Yes.
I see that.
And he didn't realize there was a tab for epic and heroic.
Yes. All right, bugs. This is currently on live. There is still a bug where champions sometimes won't have their full intended hit points. They don't have fewer hit points than the monster would have started with were it not a champion. They correctly have maximum hit points, but are incorrectly not getting enough current hit points, so their health bar looks like they are already injured. Bonus days, double daily dice, and the Night Revels has an encore this weekend through Sunday, November 22nd. I was happy because that meant about 800,000 XP for the character that I was working on.
Nice.
So yeah, it was a nice little bonus. See, sales through November 26th, 35% off of True Hearts of Wood, Lesser Hearts of Wood, Quest XP elixirs, healing items, and spell point potions. The freebie for the week is a Bell of Opening, always a nice one. Community news, the 167th Chronicle. I'm going to start going through this really fast if I can. Nimble is keeping a campaign diary of 4th edition D&D game talk. Nimble is keeping a campaign diary of a 4th edition D&D game taking place in DDO's quest. There we go. And we got a shout out for DDO Splat. Second annual Golunda holiday event, Secret Santa, will be coming soon. The guild for the week, Carnage Personified, is a Kyber-based guild. Started as a father-son team and expanded to include other families and younger players. Guild focuses on fun, has a family-friendly rules regarding conduct and language. Nice little change of pace. Comment for the week: what makes an evil wizard turn good? Chocolate.
Excellent answer.
I'm going to give a boring answer and say the charm spell.
That works. Fan site news. We got a shout out for our 406th episode. DDO Players News had Cordovan on talk about Update 29 in November. Damsels of DDO were in the high road. DDO Gamer had got his Fey Buckler to cap. The Shady Rogues went in the Stones Run Red. DDO Wiki Talk looked at scripts and categorization. Full Moon Fury gets mycological. It's about mushrooms. Enrique looked at the name enemy Kadak. Let's see, other fun stuff. Some other videos that I wanted to mention. Axel had a video on starting an LFM, which we'll link to. You also had one, I was going to link to it, but about legendary raid bypass timers.
Yeah, if you want to hear me rant a little bit about bypass timers, I'm not a big fan of them. If you want to hear me rant a little bit, you can check out that video.
Your LFM video was really good too, though. Dirty William had his 8th episode of DDO Wrath. It's kind of a little serial story if you are interested in that. The Shady Rogues wanted to prove your worth. If you haven't given the Shady Rogues a try, they have really great chemistry. These guys have chemistry and humor that rivals that of the Damsels. They're a blast to actually watch. Let's see, DDO Players News had a special interview with Severlin yesterday that they posted. Some quick notes from that. The next classic module they're eyeballing around Halloween. And will be, quote, appropriate for that time frame, for that season. They'd like to do some more celebrity guest DMs, but it's kind of more of a matter of opportunity and whether or not it kind of works out. they're looking at deep gnomes and whether or not it should be a separate race or an iconic race. Sevlin wants to do tieflings and Azamars. The gnome is kind of a trial run for races because they haven't done a race in a while. They also have issues with tails and horns with tieflings. Classes and races, they feel that players want both. They didn't commit to anything, but Sevlin talked a little bit about hexblades and psionics. Although it was kind of from a standpoint of some challenges for that. If there's going on whether or not there's going to be an expansion, maybe, probably free with stuff in the store as opposed to being paid, but that's not being. Nothing was really ruled out. It's just kind of a where he's thinking currently kind of thing. Someone asked about the collaboration between them and Wizards of the Coast. Sevlin said he can't really get into specifics because it's an outside vendor, but he's very happy with the relationship that they have with them and the collaboration that's going on. Whether or not festivals will be updated to level 30, it's kind of an individual decision. They need resources to do it, but probably not until at least mid-summer because they don't want to overshadow new Epic 30 gear. They added some new loot tech. There was an amusing discussion about whether or not level 30 should have coincided with update 30, which was kind of funny. New monsters, when they add monsters, they want something that gives a new. They kind of tend to look more as a role, like what does it offer in terms of a role of a monster, and content tends to drive monster creation rather than the other way around. As far as unused favor rewards, they've sort of been holding on to them for things they want to put into favor. So if they come up with something they want to have as a favor reward, they have some options to put them as opposed to having to shoehorn one in. Excuse me. Sentient weapons will not be part of Greensteel and will come later, partly because they didn't really feel like the designs meshed, and they didn't want one to overshadow the other, so they want them to be kind of separate. Also, Cordovan let us know what the bonus days for Thanksgiving is going to be. It's going to be a buddy weekend, so you get plus 10% per player in a quest with you, and also plus they're going to do the raid one at the same time, so you get plus 5% per player in a raid.
So who's going to run Von 5 this holiday?
Probably everybody.
Lots of people.
Cocktail Hour just came out with their 93rd episode. Ludwig had a post on Every Life Having Its Death. Dido Gamer had his contest haikus. He awarded a winner for the Stormage campaign contest there. He also talked about the XP curve. Full Moon Fury talked about a spider-themed content pitch. And Order of Syncletica looked at the Update 29 feats from a monk's perspective. Let's see. An event that I was asked to mention, the Unrepentant Guild on Sarlona is hosting a permadeath competition. You have to start from, the short version is you have to start from level 1. Your name must have DNR at the very start of the name. And there's some other fairly common permadeath rules. We'll link to it if you're interested in. The game is on. It's already started. The person at the stroke of midnight on the last day of 2012 GMT time with the highest level or most lives wins. It's just a bit of fun. It's just bragging rights. So have fun, no cheating on our system. And good luck. Let's see. DDOCast still going on Tuesdays. We're having a blast. Let's see. Lightning Post. Try and get through this really fast. Let's see. Fuzzy Duck wrote in about the Crystal Cove, or about kind of the events. For Crystal Cove, he said the Spyglass is awesome and essential gear for any character. I wouldn't say any character, but it is really good. He likes the other trinkets as well. For the Mimic Hunt, he really enjoyed the concept and how it worked, but the loot mechanic, he agreed, needs some work. He likes more glamoring fodder. He's waiting for the frying pan, which is another good one that monsters have. The Dodge Shotgun was particularly nice. Fantastic for low to mid-level monks especially. As for the quest treatment, considering they're treating it as challenges and pretty great XP, then long ones would be fine in his opinion. He suggested Rainbow in the Dark, which would be a good Halloween-themed one, I think. John wrote in on our DDOCast one of our DDOCast videos. He said, good show. A foundation of Discord, you guys kicked Major Hind together. He was wondering if we had any thoughts on players who solo at levels above because no group will party with them. So what he means is like if Elite is 16, you're 18 for XP penalties. He thinks they seem to be pretty negligible. would say there's definitely no reason you can't run things higher levels than otherwise. Just be aware that you're missing out on some XP. I kind of put this here more because if I would challenge the idea that no group will party with you. You might have to put in a little more effort than you want to. But I think grouping, and Axel kind of talked about this a little bit in his video, throw up an LFM, find people to run with. If you put a little effort in, I think it's not too hard to find people to run with. That's
Right,
kind of
just
where I
yeah,
stand.
he should just throw up an LFM. Why not? Worst case scenario, nobody joins. But I think there are players willing to, and I've run quests before. A few levels over. There's definitely players out there I think who would be willing to run a couple levels over and lose a little XP. I mean, if nothing else, there's players who might have missed quests and they want the favor as well. So
There's probably people that have ran it already and will run it again for normal XP or something.
yeah,
So it's
yeah,
not.
or they're going after some loot still,
Yeah.
even though they're a couple levels over. So
There's plenty of quests that are still high yield XP even if you're over level, and even if you already ran it before. Kirkos wrote in things that make him participate in events: loot and XP. The Crystal Cove has both of these, so he participates casually at every offering. He still enjoys it. Ice skating and in the Traveler Festival tie for the least appealing. The Night Rolls felt too grindy, yeah, even though it had the loot and XP featured. So it falls to second place for him. And he's with us on the Mimic Hunt. He kind of feels like it could be left on with a rare chance throughout the year. And one note from our last episode, I think we kind of mentioned already. Somebody who will remain nameless said that keys were available for purchase for the Night Rolls, and this, in fact, proves not to be true.
wonder who that was.
Um,
Yeah, I said.
Not like we haven't said things
know.
that were wrong on the show before.
I was being sarcastic. Yeah, I said that you could buy keys with ingredients. It was actually Drowse of Midnight. I got the two mixed up. My
Yeah,
fault.
it's okay. So we're going to close out this lengthy show. A lot of fun stuff we got to talk about. But thanks to Alex and Sahba for joining me. Do you guys want to plug your channels and stuff?
Sure. You can find me on YouTube, Axel's DDO channel. Just type it in there and search for it. Unfortunately, I don't have a good URL at the moment. You can also find me on DDO's fan site section of DDO.com. Also, I stream DDO fairly often lately. Axel311 is my Twitch name, so twitch.tv/Axel311.
And I'm part of the Damsels of DDO, which you can find at damselsofddo.com. And Lessa puts out our podcasts and videos that we do that are part of the DDO stream on her YouTube channel, which is Lessa is more, I think. I'm not really sure. It could be Lessa 101. I get them all
I think it's just
confused.
Lessa
It might be just Lessa, yeah.
on YouTube, anyways. Yeah, if you haven't checked them out, check them out. It's Lessa, Sahba, and Mithri, who also have great chemistry and are pretty fun to listen to.
Yeah, great.
Their podcast is about half, well, maybe a quarter DDO and like half TV shows and stuff, but it's still fun to listen
They
to.
love talking about TV. So our next show is on Tuesday. Our next Twitch stream is on Tuesday, and our podcast is on Wednesday at 11 Pacific.
Awesome. Is Leslie going to be editing that while she's waiting for her turkey to cook?
Possibly.
We won't hold it against her if she's late again.
No. She's never late. We don't give her a time frame.
That's
Except
true.
to have it done by the next time we have a podcast.
I think she's mostly made that happen. Thanks for listening to the show, especially the longer one. Hope you found particularly some of the Meat Eater stuff helpful. And thanks for Alex and to Sahba for joining me today and for a little bit longer of a show. Thanks to all the other contributors for DDOCast. They're a great group of folks. They really make this a lot of fun to do. Thanks to Turbine and Wizards for making DDO happen, and thanks to Cybers for hosting the podcast. You can hit us up at DDOcast.com for show notes, our calendar, previous shows, swag, and other fun stuff. If you want to be part of the show, or if you have a comment on this episode, or a question you'd like us to answer, or a topic you'd like us to hear us debate, or you just want to say hi, you can leave a comment, or you can email us at ddocast@gmail.com. You can also find us on social media and follow us for latest cast updates. Our closing tip for the week: running away works. So until next time, may all your attack rolls be crits, all your chest level appropriate, have fun, and don't forget to check out Update 29 on Lemania as you are able.